Hey everybody, this is Perch. We have a mail here talking about feminist comics, and I think the writer makes a good point, and it's something I've thought about too. Is a lot of comics, and not just for feminism, but for a lot of causes, they don't really feel like they're about the cause. They feel like there's something else. Maybe it's a celebration of the cause, but not the cause itself. And quite frankly, this is how I feel a lot of causes and activism and a number of things today. Is it's amazing how much of the effort has very little to zero to do with with actual, for lack of a better word, progress or for any kind of real momentum of what's going on. So let me read this mail and we can. But I guess I do need to double click on that very briefly. But when you see a lot of people protesting, in many cases, it surprises me how uninformed the people protesting are, which gives me the impression that they're really just there to kind of hang out with friends, have a party, not go to school, whatever it happens to be. And I'm not talking necessarily gotcha stuff like, hey, find Palestine on a map or or Israel, but I'm not talking stuff like that. I'm talking like what you know what is the cause you're fighting for? And I know that this has become a right wing meme, but the idea of LGBTQ rights, for Palestine, I think is that's fine if you want to support it, but there's an inherent conflict there when you look at the morals, beliefs, and standards of Palestine itself. I'm not saying there's a big defense against Israel. I'm just saying there's some details to this whole cause you're dealing with that I don't think are coming out. Very, no pun intended. So when we talk about comics, I see this in a lot of the anthologies. I see it in, it's for example, it's like when DC did some Pride anthologies, and they talk about kind of, the first transgender or character or writer, and they're mentioning, or the pioneer of a transgender writer in comics, and they don't mention Rachel Pollack, a writer they themselves employed, 20 years earlier. It's just that's the kind of stuff where it's like I don't feel like you really know what you're talking about or are serious about this stuff. That's the impression that I get. But let's see if this mail actually weighs in on that, or if it goes in a completely different direction. This intro was terrible, which is totally cool. It says, hello, Perchanov. Okay, I'm a Russian agent now. A couple weeks ago today, you released a video about how to make female protagonists palatable to comic fans. I've gathered some thoughts about the topic from around the web over the years and amalgamated them into a single comment. I want to see which of these things you agree with and disagree with. Quote, if you want to make a feminist comic, defining feminism as simply seeking gender equality doesn't make a comic about feminism. Make it about something else and fill it with interesting female characters and distinct and fleshed out personalities. Make them likable, interesting, smart, relatable, interact well with other characters. Fit them smoothly into the world and plot. Make both good and evil ones. Make the former lose early on, only to win at the end. Show female characters with varying levels of confidence, femininity, sex appeal, and other protected classes, and other traits that you'll show the value of. Traits you'll show the value of women as people. Don't tell people to give women trust or help just because they're a quote marginalized class. Okay, so far so good. I mean it begs one thing. You've already also seen this comment. It's men are like, well, if you want to make women characters popular, they need to smile more. Why doesn't Brie Larson smile more? And I think that's taking a true statement and boiling it into something kind of not nonsensical. Just not. It's not about smiling more. It's about don't be afraid to let the human or the woman in this case show emotion. Emotion is not weak. Emotion is powerful, particularly if you do it well. There's you in and I use this example sometimes when I talk about people. I talk to people about this topic. Rambo, the first one, the one where he's in the U.S. He wasn't off in Vietnam or Afghanistan or wherever having adventures, but the first one. At the end of this movie, Rambo, who's been a badass through the movie, breaks down in tears. He's clearly suffering. He's broken from his experience in Vietnam. It was a haunting portrayal of what a lot of people came back with in terms of PTSD and just where they fit in, that they don't. And Rambo, Sylvester Stallone there, is showing tons of emotion in that last scene. What a lot of people call "quote unquote" weak emotion. He was a a thoroughly tortured man at that point. Now imagine if you'd written that scene and said, "Hey, we actually can't show him in tears. We can't show him broken because manly men don't cry. They don't show emotion, and so therefore let's cut all that. Instead, he's going to stoically say, that war is over, but there will be another war for me." And like you played it that way. Imagine if that was the movie we got. It would have sucked. I mean, quite frankly, it would have been true to the character, and it would have lost a lot of the punch. So when I see a lot of movies that are designed, empower women, they take the approach of, well, we can't show women, we can't show them crying. We just have to show them tough. We just have to show them on top of things. We can't show them getting beaten. If they take a punch, from a member of the opposite sex and need to murder that guy immediately, we can't show any weakness. And you might say it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but if you watch some of these movies, it doesn't seem like it. The women just mow down other characters, and then they don't allow those women to show emotion. And one of the most powerful things you could do if you're trying to convey this really complex and deep character is to allow the woman to both kick ass and show emotion. And it truly is show emotion. I'm not asking for like the end of the movie where a woman was super powerful, just destroying everything. She has to come around and go, and now I need some good dick because and I want to bake some muffins because that's what a good woman does. She's good in the sack and in the kitchen. And I did kill a lot of people, but now it's time to cook bread. I mean, no. I'm not saying you throw in subservience there for no apparent reason. That wouldn't make sense to the character you're building. But emotion is not subservience. I think people forget about that. Anyway, back to the mail. It says, anyone can say anything via postulate. Follow that up with a challenge to agree or be condemned usually invites visceral rejection and not thoughtful conversation. If you don't provide logical arguments, and falsifiable evidence, people assume it's because you have none to provide. The best way to get people on board with an idea is to trick them into thinking they came to it on their own. In Jacques Ellul's Propaganda, it's stated that propaganda has to offer its would-be victims something they already want to have to get the desired effect on them. Any cause which requires people to say, "You're right, I am bad, wrong and stupid, and I really suck," is going to have a hard time ever achieving its goals. Just about anyone who goes, "Am I awful because I'm male," instead of "This person is an idiot," or worse, "Women suck," is probably 100% on your side already. Praising someone's talents and telling them the benefits they stand to gain from a benefit to humanity as a whole tends to work better. If your moral can't be gotten across that way, maybe it's time to rethink it. I agree with that statement too. In fact, I probably agree with that even more. This is basic human psychology, and it's the idea of, like, if you want to make an idea stick, you do have to bring people along. There's a lot of different ways to say that that you see in kind of a lot of modern team building stuff or management coaching or other things. But it comes down to the same thing. You have to bring people along with your idea. You can't just dictate it to them. And I see that as well. And by the way, I see that a lot in current politics, let alone comics. That you see people like, when Joe Biden is going to roll out Trump is evil, they're leaving out a lot of the why he's evil. They're just saying he's a threat to democracy. That's it. And you may go, if you're already, by the way, if you already dislike Trump, you're like, yeah, of course, right? You don't need to be convinced. You're already there. But if you are a fan of Trump, if you're somebody or an independent, somebody where you're trying to pull those votes over, then you have to give them, a reason. And ideally, it's a reason they can see themselves in. Something along the lines of, how many times have you been punished for something and then not want to accept the results, and then you went on a tantrum about it, and this is what he's doing. I'm not saying that's the kind of stuff that's going to be more powerful to your argument, rather than say, no, it's just a threat to democracy. You don't believe me? Maybe you're a threat to democracy too. That stuff doesn't win. And I've had this argument, and really, I would say, hostile argument with Democrats who go, it's not our job to prove it. Yeah, it kind of is. If you want to win, I'm sorry, you don't just get to declare something and then it's all over. You actually have to convince people of your ideals. So to bring it back to comics for a minute, it's why that line bugged me, and I've talked about it before, where it's like Captain Marvel is the most popular superhero in the Marvel Universe. All right, that doesn't do anything. You're just telling people this. And worse, it's something that they can't find themselves in. The sales for that title were low. If you were already buying Captain Marvel, you're probably like, holy shit, I'm validated. I'm buying the most popular title in the Marvel Universe. I'm great. Okay, that's fine. But, that's not reality. So you need to start with, especially with a lot of these characters, you want to make the strong, popular female superhero. And it's worked before. I mean, Wonder Woman has had powerful runs. Marvel characters have had powerful runs. Storm didn't get to be popular just because one day Chris Claremont's like, fuck it, you're all going to like a black woman. She got to be powerful because, they built her up. They showed weakness. They showed strength. They showed why she was a leader. That issue 201, where Powerless Storm defeats Cyclops, is a masterclass of how to get a female character over and get her popular. But you do have to put in the work. And it really feels like the work feels boring. It feels lazy. And worse, it feels like, in many cases, the writers are offended that they need to put in the work. I was watching some panel at the comic convention, and one of the questioners was like, don't you think you need to show more of why, in this case it was Betsy Braddock, why she deserves to be a leader, to make it, to really sell people on the idea that she's Captain Britain and leading Excalibur. And Teeny and I think Jordan, I remember who all was there, but they all like kind of bashed on the fan. Like, why should we have to show that she's a powerful leader? Women just can't be powerful leaders? It's like, hang on a second, you warped the question along. You have to show everyone can be a leader. Men, women, everyone. You do. You could say, well, people accept a male leader faster. I don't know if that's true or not, but it doesn't really change anything. If right now you said the new leader of the Avengers, the new leader is, D-Man, the people are going to be like, no, fuck that. No, this is a joke. Like, there's some mind control stuff. I mean, actually, I could use a more real example. When, this is an older Avengers run, when Dr. Druid took over the Avengers as the leader, everybody. I mean, the fans were like, yeah, he's clearly being manipulated by this woman over here, and he sucks as a leader, and there's a storyline reason for that, but nobody bought it. Nobody's like, oh, not finally, a guy with a penis took over from that Monica Rambeau bitch, finally. Like, no, you got to build up everyone, male, female, child, if you're going to make something work, you still have to put in that effort, and you do have to get people to find themselves in it. Anyway, I'll finish off this note. It says, again, which of these thoughts do you agree with and which do you disagree with? Generally both. And do you think of any comics or manga that actually do this? Yeah, tons. The main ones that come to my mind are adaptations of non-comic properties, My Little Pony comics and Touhou manga. Okay, I can think of a lot more than that. Again, I said the name before. Rumiko Takahashi writes amazing women characters, both as leaders and subservient and tomboys and girly girls and all the rest. Ranma One Half was mostly women characters with lots of different personalities and lots of different strength involved. P.S. is the other bear in the animated intro you debuted today supposed to be the Russian bear? No, that if you saw that briefly show up in my videos, I put the Perch clip into AI, into Luma AI to see what happened, and it turned it into a whole goddamn other bear. I find that hilarious, and another indication that AI's got a way to go. But anyway, that's the answer behind there. Look, I agree with both statements. I think they're both relatively true. And I think, to me, it's marketing at the end of the day. That's what you need to get your head around. If you want the comic to do well, you're going to have to sell it. That's it. It's as simple or difficult as that, depending on what you feel like doing. Anyway, thanks for the mail, and thanks for listening.